Etta James cry every time she performs a particular song. Before I play you that song, let me tell you something. There's a difference between a sad song and a song that destroys you. These 15 R&B songs from the 1960s, they don't just make you cry. They reach into your chest and pull out every heartbreak you ever tried to bury.
You said you'd be coming back this way again, baby. Baby, 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 oh baby, yeah.
Number 3 on this list was recorded by a man standing inside a grief so deep, the studio musicians wept during playback. And number 1, it's been over 60 years. Every single word still hits like it was written about your life. If you've ever loved someone who didn't stay, lost something beautiful before you were ready, or watched an era of music carry more honesty than anything made today, you gon' feel every second of this. Let's go.
Another guy, baby, I know you will. Understand me, won't you try. Let's just kiss and say goodnight.
Number 15, What Becomes of the Brokenhearted, Jimmy Ruffin, 1966. Some songs ask questions. This one asks the one nobody wants to answer.
Our world's filled with love is a wonderful sight. Being in love is everyone's heart's delight. But that look of love isn't on my face, no. That enchanted feeling has been replaced. Yeah, as I walk.
Detroit, 1966. Motown is at the height of its commercial power. The hits are coming fast, polished, radio ready, built for dancing. And then Jimmy Ruffin walks into Hitsville, USA, and records something that doesn't fit the formula at all. Not because it lacks polish, but because underneath the strings, in the steady rhythm, there was a question so raw it cut straight through everything Motown was trying to project. What becomes of the brokenhearted? Ruffin wasn't performing grief, he was reporting it. The arrangement, those rising strings, that measured tempo, sounds like a man physically moving through a world that kept spinning after his world stopped. He's not collapsed on the floor, he's walking, and somehow that's worse, because you understand immediately that this is what real heartbreak looks like, not the dramatic moment, the morning after, and the morning after that.
I know I've got to find some kind of peace of mind. Help me, please. I'm searching, no, I don't succeed. For someone's love, that's such a growing need. All is lost, there's no place for beginning, no, no. All that's left for me is an unhappy ending, baby.
What most people don't know is that this song was nearly given to someone else entirely. It was passed around Motown before it found its way to Jimmy. And you have to wonder, would it have landed the same way in any other hands? Because Jimmy carried something personal into that vocal booth. He was the lesser-known brother in a family where David Ruffin was the star. He understood, intimately, what it meant to keep going in a world that wasn't fully looking at you. That knowledge lives inside every note he sang. What becomes of the brokenhearted? He never gives you the answer, because some questions aren't meant to be resolved. They're meant to be carried. And 60 years later, this record is still being carried by everyone who has ever stood in a doorway long after someone walked through it.
Who had a sweet love that's now departed. Listen, I know I've got to find some kind of peace of mind. I'll be searching everywhere just to find someone to care. I'll be looking every day. Ooh, I'm gonna find a way. I need you, baby. Need you, baby. Need you, baby.
Number 14, For All We Know, Donny Hathaway, 1970. There are voices that entertain you, and then there are voices that tell you the truth about yourself. By 1970, Donny Hathaway had already established himself as one of the most gifted musical minds of his generation. Arranger, producer, pianist, singer. He moved through music the way other people breathe, naturally, necessarily, without effort. But when he turned to a slow ballad, something shifted. The technical brilliance stepped back, and what stepped forward was something closer to revelation. For All We Know is dressed as a love song, two people at the beginning of something, hopeful, reaching toward each other. But underneath that surface, underneath every tender lyric, is the quiet terror of impermanence, the knowledge that nothing is guaranteed, that the very thing you are holding right now might already be in the process of becoming a memory. Hathaway understood that tension the way a theologian understands doubt. Not as the enemy of faith, but as its necessary companion. He had grown up in the church, had been shaped by gospel music's willingness to sit inside suffering rather than rush past it. And that formation is audible in everything he sang. He didn't interpret emotion, he transmitted it directly into the chest of anyone willing to listen.
Tomorrow may never come. For all we know.
The tragedy of Donny Hathaway, his mental health struggles, the brilliance that burned so bright it became difficult to contain, the life that ended at 33, deepens everything these recordings carry. When you hear him singing about uncertainty, about holding something fragile, you understand now that he was always singing about more than the lyric in front of him. Some artists make music. Donny Hathaway made evidence. Evidence that beauty and sorrow are not opposites, that sometimes they are the exact same thing.
Tomorrow may never come. For all we know.
Number 13, I Stand Accused, Jerry Butler, 1964. He was called the Iceman, but listen closely and you'll hear exactly why that nickname was never the whole story. Chicago, 1964. Jerry Butler is 24 years old and already carrying the kind of vocal authority that most singers spend a lifetime trying to develop. Cool, measured, unshakable, the kind of voice that makes you lean in rather than flinch back. And then he opens his mouth on this record, and what comes out is not ice at all. It is the controlled devastation of a man who has looked at everything he did wrong and decided to own every single word of it.
On the witness stand, shouting out all over the land, woo-wee, I'm guilty, guilty.
I Stand Accused is not a defense. It is a confession. He's not fighting the charges. He's not explaining himself. He stands before you, before whoever it is he lost, and pleads guilty. Guilty of loving past the point of wisdom. Guilty of staying when leaving would have been easier. Guilty of caring so deeply that dignity became negotiable. Butler recorded this during a period when soul music was still finding the full range of what it could say. Most records were about wanting someone, chasing someone, losing someone. Few records were about the reckoning that comes after, the moment of sitting quietly with your own choices and deciding not to run from what you find there. That willingness to stay in the discomfort, to not reach for easy resolution, is what separates this record from everything around it in 1964. Jerry Butler never lost his composure on tape, and somehow that restraint makes this confession feel more devastating than any scream ever could, because you understand that the calm is costing him something, that underneath the stillness everything is breaking. He just refuses to let it show. That kind of dignity, in the face of that kind of pain, is one of the most heartbreaking things a human being can offer.
You belong to another. I may not stand the ghost of a chance. Well, I'll tell the world that I love you.
Number 12. Ain't No Sunshine by Bill Withers in 1971. 26 words, repeated until they stopped being words entirely. Bill Withers was 32 years old, had spent years working on the assembly line at a Boeing factory, and had no guarantee that anyone would ever hear what he was making when he recorded Ain't No Sunshine as a throwaway B-side in 1971. He almost didn't include those 26 words at all. He left them in as a placeholder, intending to replace them with actual lyrics later. He never replaced them, and the world is different because of that decision.
Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and this house just ain't no home at any time.
Because what those repeating words capture, I know, looping over itself until the meaning dissolves and only the feeling remains, is the most accurate sonic portrait of absence ever committed to tape. That is what real loss feels like. Not the eloquent speech, not the perfectly constructed lyric, the mind circling the same empty space again and again and again, unable to land anywhere else. The 1960s soul tradition, the one that taught musicians to let silence breathe, to trust the space between notes as much as the notes themselves, is all over this record. The arrangement is almost nothing. A few guitars, a light rhythm, and that voice, unadorned, unprotected, standing alone in the middle of an accent it cannot name and cannot escape. Withers said in interviews that he wrote the song about a woman who kept leaving and coming back. That cycle, the leaving, the returning, the leaving again, is what the repetition captures. Not a single departure, a pattern, a rhythm of loss that becomes, after a while, the rhythm of your whole life. When she's gone, he knows, he knows, he knows.
Anytime she goes away, anytime she goes away.
Number 11, I Wish It Would Rain, The Temptations, 1968. Ask anyone who grew up with a broken heart and a good record player. Not My Girl, not Papa Was a Rolling Stone, this one. Detroit, 1968. The Temptations are at the peak of their commercial dominance, and producer Norman Whitfield is beginning to push the group towards something darker, something more psychedelic and complex. But before that full transformation arrives, there is this record, this quiet, devastating record that most casual listeners have never fully reckoned with.
So deep in the pit of my heart, and it's been cold more and more. I'm not ashamed to come and plead to you, darling. It keeps you from working out that door.
The premise is almost unbearably human. A man so gutted by heartbreak that he cannot face the sunshine, cannot walk outside into a bright day without feeling the contrast between the world's indifference and his own collapse. So he prays for rain, not because rain is beautiful, but because rain would give him cover, because rain would mean the sky is crying too, and nobody could tell the difference. David Ruffin's vocal on this record is a masterclass in restraint. He does not oversing, he does not run up and down the scale demonstrating what his voice can do. He walks that lyric straight into your chest and leaves it there. Every held note, every subtle catch in his throat costs him something, and you feel the cost in real time. What makes this record particularly devastating in hindsight is what was happening to David Ruffin himself. The addiction, the ego conflicts inside the group, the slow unraveling of a man whose gifts were extraordinary and whose demons were equally so. He was not performing sadness in 1968. He was already living inside it. The sky he was asking to cry, it never really stopped.
A crying man was half a man. No sense of pride. If I have to cry to keep you, I don't mind weeping. By my side.
Number 10, Me and Mrs. Jones by Billy Paul, 1972. Some songs don't ask for your sympathy. They just tell you the truth and let you decide what to do with it. Philadelphia, 1972. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, the architects of Philadelphia soul, hand Billy Paul a song that no radio programmer in their right mind should have touched. It is about an affair. Unambiguous, unapologetic, told from the inside with full knowledge of every complication. There is no redemption arc, no moment of moral clarity, just a man and a woman who meet every day at the same cafe because that hour is the truest hour either of them has.
We both know that it's wrong, but it's much too strong to let it go now. Well, it's time for us to believe it.
And somehow, it became one of the biggest records of the year. Because Billy Paul did not sing this song as a confession seeking absolution. He sang it as a man who understood the cost of what he was doing and chose it anyway. Because the alternative, the life without that hour, without that table, without that particular kind of being seen, was a cost he could not pay. The genius of the production is its tenderness. There is no darkness in the arrangement, no minor key warning you that what you're hearing is wrong. It sounds like love. It feels like love. And that refusal to editorialize, to let the music itself deliver a verdict, is what makes the record so morally complex and so emotionally precise. Decades of listeners have called this their song, their secret, the record that sat in the middle of something they could never fully explain to anyone else. That is the power of a song that does not judge, that simply witnesses, that says, I see you, I understand, and I'm not gonna pretend it's simple.